welcome to another RWBY fanfiction reading. Now this one is RWBY, Bright Lights and Bumblebee by Brightbriar. Now, this one's kind of an interesting one compared to a lot of the other ones we've done before. This one kind of has not only like a companion type book, but also sort of like a sequel. So there's, first off, Bright Lights and Bumblebee. There's also White Rose Tea, which is, again, it's very like Bright Lights and Bumblebee. And then there's the sequel to both of those, Raindrops on Roses and Whiskers on Kittens. So, it's obviously we're going to start with this one. So, yeah. I really realized that I need to stop reading the description because it's pointless and don't know how to go into it. So, or I don't know how to transition from the beginning into the description. So we're just gonna read. So part 1, prologue. Oh my goodness, stop it. Blake was starting to question her life choices, sort of in general. At the very least, this was the last time she was going to any party, concert, or anything involving alcohol with these particular friends ever. She didn't even know where they'd gone, and after being literally forced to go with them, she didn't really care anymore. She sat in the back corner in the shadows, already feeling drained by the presence of hundreds, maybe thousands of people she didn't know. Okay, there probably isn't thousands, but, you know. She ran her hand through her dark, wavy hair, being careful not to move the black bow securely tied like a headband on the top of her head. Closing her eyes, trying to put her headache out of her mind, pretending she was anywhere else, wishing desperately that she had a book. That was a long sentence. Hey. Blake's amber eyes snapped open when she heard the voice. She looked up to see a relatively tall teenager, perhaps the same age as herself, her brilliant yellow hair almost glowing in the dim light of the concert venue. She blinked. Hi. I'm Yang. Are you okay? Blake narrowed her eyes. Fine. You don't look like you're enjoying yourself. I'm not, she said bluntly. What exactly did this girl want? Oh. They continued to hold each other's gaze, trying to discern who the other person was. Yang seemed to fit right into everything that was going on, and in terms of what she was wearing, and most of the people here were wearing crop tops, obscenely short skirts, or shorts and heeled shoes. So what's your name? Blake. I'm Yang, you already said. Oh, she repeated. She extended her hand. Blake wasn't sure if it was to help her up or so that she could shake it. Do you want a drink? Blake didn't sure how the words no thank you came out as sure why not. Yang's strange violet eyes lit up and Blake took her hand, getting her to her feet. Blake wasn't terribly sure if this was the best idea, but Yang seemed nice enough. Yang beckoned for her to follow her. She couldn't help but notice that Yang was avoiding walking right in front of the speakers, which she was grateful for that. It was probably for her sake rather than Yang's. The other girl appeared to be unfazed by the noise and the crowd. They finally reached the bar at the far right of the room. Yang pulled up a stool for Blake, then for herself, then turned to the bartender. Strawberry sunrise, no ice, unsurprisingly. Blake sat down and swallowed hard, not quite sure how to act. Apple cider? Hard or soft? Blake had no idea. All she knew was she'd had some sort of apple cider at a wedding once. Yang leaned over, I think, and murmured, hard has alcohol in it. Why the hell not? Hard, please. A couple of minutes later, to Blake's surprise, the comfortable kind rather than the awkward kind, the bartender returned. Yang took a pair of paper umbrellas from a tray, tossing one to Blake, which she only just managed to catch without crushing it. So, she said slowly before sipping her drink. So, what are you doing here? Yang asked, appearing to be genuinely curious. Escorting some friends. Yang frowned. Where'd they go? I have no idea. Blake put the umbrella and drank a bit of the cider. It was really nice. Sweet, but not too sweet. To be honest, I couldn't care less right now. I'm guessing you didn't want to come? Nope. She paused. This is nice, though, besides the throbbing headache and the loud music and the people and the fact that I hardly know you. Yang's eyes lit up and she grinned. I'm glad. Why? The blonde looked like she'd been caught off guard by that. Heavily down on the table and swallowed hard. What do you mean? Why do you care? Yang's expression changed again for a moment before she narrowed her eyes playfully. You don't have many actual friends, do you? What? Of course I do. Yang smirked a little. Who? Blake narrowed her eyes, glaring at her. She was too taken aback to notice how Yang had avoided her question. The blonde smiled knowingly and shrugged. Then you've never really had anyone to look out for you. Never had anyone care. I don't make friends. I don't trust people. Yang's gaze softened. Why? It's hard to trust people when the people you've trusted most were the ones who betrayed you, she replied stiffly. And I'm guessing it's a sensitive topic? Yes, Blake said it a little too sharply. Yang paused. Could you trust me? Blake was about to give her a flat no, but somehow she felt like that would be lying to herself. After all, Yang hadn't done anything to make her feel anything but comfortable around her. The conversation, the situation felt strangely normal. Maybe it was the cider. Don't know. To get you to trust me. Why are you so eager to gain my trust? She snapped, suddenly suspicious. Why didn't you invite me to have a drink? Yang paused, glancing at the ceiling. It was kind of depressing seeing you just sitting there. Concerts are meant to be fun. Bloody extrovert. Yeah, well, they're not fun for everyone. Ha, you sound like my sister. You have a sister? Yeah, Ruby. She's super sweet, but I swear, she's the most antisocial. She paused, then flicked her gaze over to Blake. Second most antisocial person that I know. Blake shrugged, pretty sure whatever Yang had just implied about her was true. How old is she? 13. She loves books, fantasy, and fairy tales and things. How old are you? 17. Yeah, the same. Yang nodded and drained her glass. By the way, I like your bow. Blake stiffened. She can't know. She can't know. She can't know I'm a... Oh, thanks. Her eyebrows shot up as the band finally played a song she recognized. Yang grinned widely, picking up on this, leapt off her stool, curtsied, then held out one hand, her eyes gleaming. She winked. May I have... Why am I so affected by... She gazed evenly at Yang for a couple of seconds. A smile slowly spread out across her face. The gesture was so inappropriate. This wasn't a slow dance. This was a pop song with a heavy beat and less than decent lyrics. She took her outstretched hand nonetheless. Sure. Yang laughed and led her out onto the dance floor. Do you know anything about swing dancing? Not a clue. Great! Yang slapped her on the back, grinning so hard Blake. So put your arm here, lower. The other one on my arm. Great. Then rock back on your right foot. No, your right foot. Don't copy me. I'm doing the opposite because I'm leading. Yep, rock step, triple step, ow. No, sorry, it's not your fault. You weren't ready. Blake had never been this confused or amused in her life. Yang, when you asked me to dance, I didn't think... Oh, please, Yang pleaded. Ruby doesn't let me do any swing dancing with her anymore. It's not hard, honestly. You're a natural. Blake rolled her eyes. She was anything but a natural, but she conceded anyway. Fine. Okay, so rock step, good. Then take 3 quick steps forward. Perfect. Now rock forward onto your left foot, and then 3 triple steps back. Yeah, that's right. Rock step, triple step. Before long, Blake felt like she was starting to get the hang of it. Okay, now we can turn and go in a different direction. Stay close to me. Keep track of your feet. Rock step, triple step. Soon Yang was leading her around the floor in a roughly circular pattern. A small group of people had gathered to watch. Okay, I'm going to swing you out now. Wait, don't stop moving your feet. Wait, what? And then Yang let go of Blake's waist, extended her arm, and spun Blake away from her. Blake rocked back, then Yang pulled her back in, drawing her close and lifting her off the ground, spinning in a tight circle, and set her back down in time for the next rock step. And Blake couldn't help it. She laughed. Yang's grin widened, and she pulled Blake even closer to her. Rock step, triple step, then swung her out again, and then pulled her back in. Then, oh god, she couldn't take it anymore. Blake met Yang's eye and grinned harder than she'd grinned in a long time. Happiness flooded her veins, her chest full to overflowing with laughter. She was starting to lose track of her feet. Everything was spinning. She stumbled. And her heart started to beat wildly, and suddenly she felt hot, and God, was this the dancing or the cider, or could it be Yang? She didn't know if she could pull away from Yang, nor did she know if she wanted to. As her mind skimmed over this last possibility, she felt a strange twisting feeling in her stomach, and her eyes widened as she realized it was true. She really liked this Yang person. She didn't know what she was doing. Yang knew that. But the blonde persisted, twirling her under her arm. Blake couldn't stop laughing. Yang pulled her back towards her, rock step, triple step, and then turned the raven-haired girl around and dipped her low to the ground. Blake gasped, and, oh god, the bow's coming loose. Blake's expression quickly turned to panic as she reached up and fumbled for the ribbon to tighten it, but Yang didn't notice, pulling her back up. The room started spinning, and Blake's grip on Yang tightened, and she was suddenly afraid she was going to fall, but Yang held her up easily, her grip firm, their bodies close, and Blake wanted to throw. That bow came off. God, if that bow came off. She swallowed down her anxiety and reached for the ribbon, trying to adjust it, but everything was going too fast, and Yang was holding her, and now more people were watching them. She finally got a grip on it, but then Yang swung her out again, and she couldn't hold her hand still, and the bow was pulled away. Yang froze, and the gathered spectators went quiet. Blake trembled and tangled. So many words. Okay. Blake trembled, the tangled ribbon hanging from her head. A small, neat pair of cat ears protruded from Blake's hair. Blake couldn't look at Yang. She wouldn't be able to stand the look of horror that must be there. She took a couple of steps back, suddenly feeling trapped. Yura, Yang said softly, breaking off the sentence partway through. Blake searched for an excuse to leave. I have to go. But Yang grabbed her wrist, and it felt like an electrical charge. You're a faunus. You're a cat faunus. Blake swallowed. She wasn't ashamed of her faunus heritage, but it was obvious that the humans perceived. And if Yang was just another person who couldn't see past her species, then so be it. Yeah, I am. Why did you hide it? The faunus paused. I wanted to be seen for who I am, not what I am. Yang nodded. Fair enough. Silence fell between them. People started to lose interest, returning to their small groups. They were still standing so close to each other. Blake's heart was thudding, but a deep red blush dusted Yang's cheeks. But Yang stepped away, much to Blake's disappointment, glancing at the clock up on the wall. I have to go. RWBY might be worried. Blake swallowed. Yeah, right. She trailed off, not sure how to put this. Thanks for not judging me for being a faunus. I enjoyed your company. Blake, Yang laughed. This isn't goodbye. I don't do goodbyes. I swear I'll find you again. Oh yeah, Blake teased. How will you manage that? Yang winked. Magic. Alright, and that was what? The first chapter? I didn't realize this would be so long for 5 parts. Anyways. Blake sat on the steps outside the science wing, reading. 2 years had passed relatively uneventfully. She tried hard to forget Yang, but found she couldn't. So much could change in the 2 years, but Yang never did. She couldn't forget those dancing violet eyes, that bold yellow hair which seemed to gleam brighter than the sun itself. She bit her tongue and slapped herself. She was being ridiculous. There was no way she'd see Yang again, hence there was no point in remembering. Spring was just starting to arrive. Blossoms were starting to come out on some of the trees around the campus. The weather was becoming warmer. Blake had discarded her scarf the previous week, and butterflies and the like seemed more abundant. Blake loved the fall and the colors that came with it, but spring was definitely next best, and with little rain and perfect temperatures. Hey, Blake froze. Her eyes widened and her breath quickened. No, that can't be right. That can't be. She dared to glance upwards to see her. Yang. She blinked. What the hell are you doing here? Yang shrugged and sat down next to her. Blake's heart thudded a little harder. Why am I so affected by this? How have you been? Blake shrugged. Good, but seriously, how are you? Why? She waved her arms aimlessly to try to get across her point. Yang laughed. Magic. Blake nudged her playfully, shaking her head in mock wonder. You must have pulled off a pretty magnificent trick to get into Beacon. Beacon was one of the most prestigious schools in the country, and Yang had never struck her as a great academic. Yang just laughed again. I don't know whether to feel insulted or pleased that I proved you wrong. Go with the latter. It's good to see you, the other freshman replied warmly. What degree are you doing then? A double degree. IT and graphic design. You? Arts and psychology. Yang whistled. You took on a science? Impressive. What are you doing for the arts part? Literature major, then human rights and gender studies. Human rights, but... Blake's eyes widened, starting to panic. Keep your voice down. Right, sorry. For a long time, faunus hadn't been accepted at Beacon, not since they had stormed the campus years ago and seriously injured a pair of human rights professors. They would have held them hostage until the university promised to change the course to cover the rights of faunus as well, but the police intervened and the faunus involved were arrested. Blake wasn't convinced that this was the best outcome. She believed in what the White Fang was fighting for, but not the way that they were fighting for it. So, Yang broke the silence, standing up and stretching. Shall we walk around for a bit? It's too cold to just sit here. You don't have to do any urgent study or anything, do you? No, I'm free for the rest of the day. Blake slipped the bookmark into the book, and the pair wandered down the path, being careful to stay out of the way of academics and older students rushing back and forth. Are you living on campus? Yang asked, pulling a mint of some description out of her pocket and tossing it into her mouth. She silently offered one to Blake, but the faunus declined. Yes, in the Sanctum Signal building. All the buildings had pretty unusual names. The Sanctum Signal top-notch high schools that played a large part in founding Beacon. Many students who went to those schools came to Beacon afterwards. You? Yang nodded. Can't remember the name of it near the law school. Heaps of Canadian students. The Williams building? Yeah, that's the one. How's your sister? Ruby? Yeah. She's good. 15 now, trying to work out her sexuality. Aw, poor thing. What about you? What have you been doing? Yang asked. Blake shrugged. Not much. Studying, reading, procrastinating. I take it you didn't go on a gap year either? No, I did. I skipped a grade since we move around a fair bit because of Dad's job. My education was fragmented in places, but if I'd stayed with my age group when I moved schools the 6th time, I think it was the 6th. Anyways, I would have repeated a heap of stuff. I finished a year younger than most people. Which is weird, because there was somebody that was at our school before moved away or something, and then they came back to the school, but they had somehow already done, the super accelerated, senior English. It was really weird. Anyways, let's move along. Where did you go on your gap year? I went to work with the military, actually, she said casually. Blake's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Yang paused, wondering how to explain. Our mother, well, Ruby's mother, she was in the military. She died when I was 7. Oh, I'm sorry. No, don't be. It was ages ago, but she trailed off, a soft smile lighting up her face, her eyes clouded with memories. I always wanted to be just like her, so strong and passionate and an amazing baker of cookies. But I couldn't stand the order, the rigid rules, the regulations, the yes sirs and obedience. I only lasted 3 months. Did you go anywhere after that? Yeah, I went to Australia briefly. Strangest place sometimes. Weird people. Nice people, nice bed. And can I say this without messing this up? Nice people, nice beaches, nice abs, weird ass animals. Oh, and the Aussie, oi thing really works. I tried it at a cricket match. It was brilliant. Have you ever played cricket? No. Sorry, this conversation is just funny. Ugh. Makes no sense. There are 2 batters, the pitcher's a bowler, and then they have fielding positions called things like silly mid-on. Who even calls something silly mid-on? Blake laughed. What, as opposed to silly mid-off? Yes, actually they have that too. Ugh. Oh my god. Why? Blake nodded, letting Yang carry the conversation. If it had been the other way, if it had been any other way, it probably would have descended into a series of awkward pauses with comments on the weather now and then. You know, Yang trailed off, pausing for a moment. I should tell you I haven't stopped thinking about you since that night. Blake swallowed. Really? Mm-hmm. That feeling is mutual. Yang looked down at her feet. Blake wasn't sure if it was just her, but she might have been blushing. That's good to hear, she said quietly. I really missed you. Blake nodded. Isn't it lucky that we both went to Beacon? Yep, she grinned, still looking down like magic. Oh my god, please, not this. Tale as old as time. Yay. Wow. Woo. I don't want to do this, but I want to do this at the same time. Oh god, I'm not gonna sing this. But I am gonna say it awkwardly. Tale as old as time. Yang, true as it can be. Yang, stop. Barely even friends. One bends. Yang, I will hit you with my laptop cord. Unexpectedly. The pair sat on Blake's bed, leaning against each other back to back, while Blake tried in vain to type up her psychology essay. Just a little change. Yang leaned further into Blake, dramatically pulling her fist towards her chest. Yang rolled her eyes. She had to admit, Yang was a relatively decent singer, but it was also nearing midnight, and Blake could feel her patience slowly running out. Small to say the least. She threw her arms out to either side of her, grinning like an idiot. Blake felt her ears twitch involuntarily, rubbing against the bow. Stop! Both a little scared, she spun around, wrapping one arm around Blake's waist and resting her head on her shoulder, which was really distracting for the faunus. Neither one prepared. Yang, honestly, Beauty and the Beast. Yang fell silent, resting her head on Blake, watching her type. Blake sighed. I don't think it's meant to be sung like a... I don't think it's meant... Yanks coughed. That wasn't a power ballad. This is a... Why is this so funny? I don't know. I just can only imagine how they were actually meaning to say this. Like, I think I should probably look up a nice like Beauty and the Beast metal cover, and it's probably what it sounds like, or sort of, not exactly, but you know. Yang, please don't sing. I love your saying. I do, but not at 1 a.m. Oh, okay. Blake rolled her eyes and kept typing. She was lucky she had such a tolerant roommate, Pierre Nikos. The relatively well-known student was, I don't know what that means, was Dux of her old school. She was studying ancient and European history, which is, I mean, it's kind of, like, what can you actually do if you, like, what actually do after college if you end up studying, like, history? Like, what exactly would be the point of that? I don't know. After spending a couple of days with her, Blake had come up with the phrase cheerfully nonchalant to describe her outlook. Currently, she was in Jean Arc's room at the other end of the corridor. Blake, isn't it weird that we're hanging out like this, like old friends already? Blake paused. We are old friends. Yang rolled her eyes. We've literally spent, trailed off, checking her watch, 4 days and 12 hours together. Blake glanced at the time, too. It was 12:50. 13. Yeah, well, I'm bad at maths. Who knows? Maybe it's some kind of record for you. Hey, is that psychology thing due tomorrow? No, I just want to get ahead. You should stop. You'll be too tired to do anything tomorrow. Blake raised an eyebrow. What am I planning to do tomorrow? Yang winked, and Blake felt heat rush to her eyes. Tomorrow's filled up with lectures. Your schedule's on the wall. What if I had other plans? I'm working on the assumption that you still don't have any friends. What if I just don't want to? Yang grinned. Then I'd have to force you. Blake wondered briefly if Yang meant to sound so seductive, like all the time. She closed her laptop. Fine, what time do you want me? Yang's eyes seemed to burn with intensity. 8 outside the art school? Sure. Yank sprung off the bed, stretched, and yawned. I should go back to my room. Sleep. Blake nodded. Yes, sleep is good. Good night. Night. Yang went out quietly, closing the door. Blake slid her laptop under her bed and pulled the covers over herself. Her face quickly split into a grin as she flicked the switch on her, making the oh jeez. I'm guessing it meant me. Oh no! It's an ad. All right. Well, sadly, it seems like this is a good place to stop. Even this ad might be loading for a while, so or maybe not. But yeah. So I guess that'll be the end for now. Next time we will do, or hopefully we'll be able to finish this, even though it's gonna be kind of like, I don't know, annoying to try to do that. So yeah, next time, if I could end the video.